for tuning in to Fallon's Daily Toast. I'm Fallon Lee O'Brien. I'm your host. We're here at Somerville Community Access Television. News about the Dakota Access Pipeline and the protests in North Dakota near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation has filled headlines and social media feeds for the past few months. Joining me and joining you tonight is Abigail Bower. Abigail is a water protector, an artist, a farmer, and on November 9th, she journeyed to North Dakota and just recently got home. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me,
Yes,
Fallon.
absolutely. What was the journey like there to get there, and then when you got there, what was that like?
So it came up quite suddenly. Going to Standing Rock, as most people that I know, heard about Standing Rock through Facebook for the most part. I had paid attention to the Keystone XL pipeline, which was actually nixed. It was shut down. It was supposed to go through the Canadian border, so that made for a lot more environmental concerns and a lot more protests on both sides. And I hadn't heard a whole lot about the Dakota Access Pipeline since the Keystone XL pipeline was dismissed as being too environmentally hazardous. So I slowly but surely started hearing about the Dakota Access Pipeline through Facebook, because the media was pretty slow on the uptake of reporting anything about it. Mm-hmm. And the more I came to find out, the more I was interested, concerned, and wanted to do something, and I felt desperate. I felt like I couldn't, what could I do? I'm all the way over here. And a now dear friend, Brad, was planning to drive out from New Hampshire. He works at an organic vegetable farm down the road from my family's organic vegetable farm on Kearsarge Mountain in Warner. Mm-hmm. We had a really nice conversation about it, and I decided to dive in. It was in a time and a place in my life where I was able to take that opportunity. And so I did. And I did a lot of, Brad is Penobscot Abenaki. His family is part of the reservation up in Old Town, Maine. And so he had a brother who was already out there. His family had already been out there. He had a lot of ties to what was going on. And we had a really beautiful drive. He talked to me a lot, and I did a lot of listening. Mm-hmm. And from the very beginning, he said, "Abby, repeat after me. I am a learning machine." And I said, "I am a learning machine." And that was sort of the mantra that I took going out there, and that I kept as I was out there, and that I will forever hold in my heart as something that's really important to tell yourself. I am a learning machine. Because there was a lot to learn out there.
Yes, I'm sure. Now you got there, so you left on the 9th, and when did you arrive?
We arrived on the 11th. Mm-hmm. We arrived, we were taking turns driving out there, and I did the last leg, the last couple hours of the trip. Brad was exhausted, he fell asleep, and it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. We were getting really close, he was sleeping, and I was driving and driving. I was really tired, and it was very dark, and this thick, thick fog had settled in. And it was the thickest fog I had ever driven in my entire life. And we were out in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota. I had never been out there before. And we got closer and closer, and I woke him up. I was like, "Brad, you have to see this fog. It's really kind of spooky and incredible." And he was pretty taken aback by it. He was like, "Wow, I can't see anything." Wow. We could barely see the road in front of us. And he turned on the radio, and there was a local drum circle and chant that was happening on the radio, and we listened to that in silence in the fog as we drove into the Cannonball Reservation and into Sacred Stone Camp. And it was a pretty magical moment.
It wasn't just a handful of days later that what all of us at home saw was this security agency hired by Energy Transfer. I'm not sure who it was that were pelting. It was just an onslaught of water cannons and rubber bullets, and there were, I mean, dozens of people injured. You were right there.
Yeah, so I had been at Standing Rock for about 1 week, or almost exactly a week, before the 1806 bridge assault, because I say assault because we were all unarmed and assaulted with less than lethal weapons. Throughout the first week that I was there, I had taken part in a couple of peaceful, prayerful actions, and mostly done a lot of work within the community, helping with donations, helping with a number of things that maybe we'll go into a little bit more later. But on the night of the bridge action, I had just gotten out of a meeting and a ceremony, and I walked out of the building that I was in and heard calls for people to help because people on the bridge were being assaulted. I was handed a number of blankets and a couple of masks, and went up to the bridge, and what had happened is there was a blockade on the bridge, and it needed to be moved because this is a main road. And the water protectors who were trying to move some things that were obstructing the way of the main road were met with water cannons, and it was below zero. It was frigid, freezing temperatures. People were shot with rubber bullets. People were met with pepper spray, tear gas. The less than lethal weapons they were using, a young 21-year-old woman nearly lost her arm. It was blown to pieces. Another young Native woman is now, I think, blind in one eye because she was hit with a rubber bullet. And there were a couple hundred other injuries that night.
Goodness. What a rude awakening.
It was. It was a rude awakening, and the one and only time that I saw anything of that sort while I was out there.
Mm-hmm. On December 3rd, 2,000 veterans arrived to show solidarity, and that must have been, I mean, I can imagine that, you know, while you're there and you're seeing all these people flood in to help, how incredibly impactful the power of the people is.
It's actually really incredible. There's a prophecy that was told back in the mid-1800s, the prophecy of the black snake. And it was said that there would be a great black snake that would come one day, and it would be the first time in a very long time that all of the tribes from all over this great nation would come together as one. And that prophecy is being lived right this very moment. There's over 300 tribes that have come together, maybe 350 that have come together in this one spot at Standing Rock for the first time in written history as we know it. And so while there is a great injustice and I think a deep racism that has to do with the fact that these people aren't being listened to fairly, just as the people of Bismarck were listened to when they argued, no, we don't want that above our water supply.
Yeah.
Despite that, this has been an incredible moment for all of these tribes to be able to come together, and the world is watching, and you know, there's been so many people who have come who want to learn more, who want to be more connected with the earth, who want to understand what that means. And so that's something that's incredible that's come out of this that can't be killed no matter what.
No matter what. And for those at home tuning in that are like, how can I help? Where can I go? What can I do? I mean, what advice can you give those that are up here in the Northeast that can't get there to help, that want to help?
So what I would recommend at this point in time...
And I will, just to interrupt you, this isn't over. Mm-hmm. This is just beginning.
Yeah.
So it's important to know that. This temporary halting of the building of the pipeline over the waterway, that's exactly what it is. It's temporary.
Yeah.
So yes, exactly. How can people continue to help and show support?
First of all, be water protectors at home. There are so many, you know, different issues all over our country when it comes to protecting our environment. The Northern Pass is something that we should be paying attention to,
yes.
In New Hampshire especially.
Absolutely.
And so be water protectors at home and pay attention to the fact, you know, it's such a simple thing. Water is life is so straightforward and so simple that we forget almost, you know, it becomes something, it seems almost silly to say, yeah. Water is life. Well, of course. Well, it is, though.
Yes, yes.
And we need to respect that and be grateful for that and protect it. Mm-hmm. It's very important. And so another thing that we can do is call our local representatives, call your congressman, call, you know, your senator, mm-hmm. Call anyone, any local state or national representative. Yeah. And put the word out. Tell them that you're listening. Yeah. And tell them that you're paying attention and tell them that you expect them to help protect our water.
Yes. And it's really important that white people, I mean, people of all color really, but specifically those that have been sort of, I feel like, sheltered or just not, privileged white people that haven't, you know, had to experience what these natives had and these Africans and these Mexicans and El Salvadorians, all of these cultures have had to tolerate and put up with. And so more now than ever, it is really our response. If freedom is what you're all about, then it's your responsibility. Freedom is that. Freedom is a responsibility to take action and to stand up and speak loudly.
And that was something that was so amazing about the veterans coming out too. Yeah. You know, our veterans went to war to protect our land. Mm-hmm. They fight to protect this country.
Yes.
And you know, there were 3,000 vets out there who were like, duh. Yeah. What do you, like, this is what we're here for, is to protect the citizens of this country.
Yeah.
Against those who seek to destroy it.
Yes.
And that was big. And another thing I wanted to, there's a movement right now that's called Defund DAPL. Mm-hmm. So that's defunding all of the big banks that are, you know, pulling out of the big banks that are supporting this pipeline going through.
I'd be interested to find out how many people have withdrawn from Bank of America, from Citizens, from Wells Fargo.
A lot.
Yeah,
actually.
A lot.
There's been like millions of dollars withdrawn. And another one is Indigenous Rising Media. Wow. Is a good one to follow on Facebook too.
Fabulous. Wonderful. I'm so happy that you came on the show, and I'd like to have you on again. I wish this was an hour-long show.
That was really quick.
It was quick. I know, I told you, right? It's just happened so quick. We could stay here forever. If you are interested in donating.
When it comes to clothing and physical things, there's actually quite a bit there. But money donations.
And wood, right?
Yeah.
Wood right now is so important.
Wood is really important, for sure. That's an ongoing need.
Yeah, and for those at home, tuning in. If you're interested, come March, hopefully it works out that we're going to go there and help clean up.
Help clean up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big one.
It's going to be a big one. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all for tuning in.